Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of the Should Have Gone Pro podcast. Welcome back. And this little bit of a surprise, we're dropping another one this week. But here we are. We thought, you know what? Why not? Let's run it back. We got a fun idea, and we had some things to talk about as far as injuries go. So, AD and Zion both having some problems. Really put into question some stuff about AD, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. And we have our list of our top 10 quarterbacks as of right now. So at the end of the season, where we think they all stand before all the roster changes, the draft picks, and everything. This is where we have our top 10 quarterbacks. We kind of came to an agreement on a list here. We feel like it was pretty easy to agree on this. So, we'll share that, discuss it, and have a good time. So, Brock, how we doing?
I'm good, man. Weather's kind of taking a turn for the worst here, but we're inside. Got my McDonald's, so we're ready to strap it down, talk some NFL and some NBA.
Yeah, I was just in the backyard shoveling the grass for my tiny dog to go to the bathroom, so it's fun. But yeah. As far as some of the NBA stuff we want to talk about, obviously we talked about some of it yesterday, but Zion Williamson we saw had a setback and may require a second surgery. So a big hit to his chance of even coming back to the season at all. It sounds like it's going to be pretty unlikely that happens. I would assume he'd probably be ready for next season, but I'd say it's pretty concerning to see a guy that young with this many injury problems start early on in his career. I understand if he tore his ACL or something where he'd be out for the whole season, but they made it sound like a while ago he was supposed to be back well before now. And we haven't even heard anything about him besides this new news that just came out. So it's really been kind of mysterious from out of New Orleans that this top pick and former All-Star is really struggling with all this stuff. So I know there's a lot of rumors about him being overweight and him not being able to get back to his athletic self again, which might be a problem with everything. So what are your thoughts about this Zion situation and where do we go from here?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly unfortunate. You never like to see. I mean, I think he was one of the most hyped prospects coming out of. I mean, I remember watching his mixtapes and stuff, and when he was in high school and just the stuff he could do. And then, I mean, obviously he went to Duke with that and formed that crazy class with R.J. Barrett and Cam Reddish. So, I mean, it's just unfortunate. I mean, he was such a hype prospect and was expected to do big things in the NBA. And, I mean, this is his third season now, hasn't appeared in a single game yet this year, only played in 85 games total over his 3-year career. 21 games his rookie year, 64. That's math right there for you. 64 last year. Obviously was an all-star. Put up really good numbers. I mean, he for an undersized big man. I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with down there. The springs that guy has in his legs, it's just crazy. Some of the things he can do athletically. But if you're New Orleans, I certainly think you're very concerned right now with not only the health of that foot, because now it's with those, but it's also his weight. I mean, when you think about now, he's stacking up surgeries on the lower extremities of his body. I mean, that's just, and he puts so much force when he just moves. I mean, you saw him blow out a shoe in college, just making a dribble move at the top of the key. I mean, the guy just generates so much force. I mean, when you think about it being the lower extremities part of his body, I think there is legitimate cause for concern. I saw a tweet today. Someone said that Zion Williamson's quickly turning into the next Greg Oden. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, Greg Oden was more with the knees, Zion obviously with the foot and stuff. But I mean, I guess he tore his meniscus too. So again, I mean, just those lower body injuries. I mean, when you start messing around with the knees and the foot when you're a guy that big, and when he just has to get his weight under control. I mean, he can't be walking around and playing basketball at 260. Even 280, that's just way too big for the kind of freak athlete he is. I mean, he needs to get down to 230, 240 if at all possible. I mean, he's got to get in basketball shape and get his body and his weight under control. Or, I mean, I think a year or two down the line, we could legitimately start talking about him in bust consideration, which is pretty crazy. When he was going to be the number. He was the number. Everyone was saying he was going to be the number one pick as soon as he stepped on the court at Duke. And obviously that ended up being true. New Orleans won the lottery for him, but it's just tough to see a guy like that not miss time with injuries like this, and hopefully he can get back on the court. But certainly a lot of cause for concern if you're New Orleans.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree, and I know it stings for them watching John Morant do what he's doing right now, knowing that they ended up picking Zion instead. So a lot of question marks coming out of that team. Obviously, they're trying to build this core around Zion and Brandon Ingram. They traded for McCollum. They got Valanciunas. So they're really trying to build this team down there. But without Zion on the floor, it's hard to tell if these guys fit. With Zion, since he has such a unique play style, and they're just hoping that this works out. It's kind of a swing in the dark at this point with Zion not being able to play, trying to figure out the rest on its own. So it's really unfortunate that this is happening. And you notice it with a lot of these big men that are kind of freak athletes. It's harder for them to sustain long careers. I feel like Giannis, knock on wood, is one of the few exceptions to that. Staying remotely healthy, again, knock on wood. So it's kind of unfortunate that this is going down this way, especially with a guy that young. I'm not ready to call him a bust yet by any means. I think you got to give him a couple more years to kind of figure stuff out. And I remember watching this guy's highlight tape in high school. People were saying he's going to be the number one pick when he was in high school. So it was absurd. People were saying he's next LeBron and everything. So the expectations on this guy were monumental. And when he has played, he's played pretty well. He was an all-star last year. So this guy has definitely earned the hype when he is playing. But if they said if you can't play, then there's no reason to be hyped up at all. So it's again, it's unfortunate, but hopefully next season we'll be able to see him just kind of start over and use this whole offseason to kind of rest up and get back to where he was. But the other big injury news was last night. Anthony Davis once again is injured. I feel like this is just a repeating story at this point. And I think this guy needs to go out right now. And I don't know if you remember those Kobe's that they made when Kobe tore his Achilles that were like super tall on the back. He just needs to go out and just buy like 10 pairs of those and just wear those every single game, because this guy rolls his ankles more than anybody in the league. It's kind of extreme. Remember, I think it was last season, Ja rolled his ankle really bad, and he said the rest of the season he was going to wear the high top Kobe's, and then he would never hurt his ankle again the rest of the season. So there's something going on there. But I saw the injury, and it was bad. The ankle bone pretty much touched the ground when his foot bent. I could just feel the pain myself watching it. And they said as of right now, I believe it said 2 to 4 weeks is what I saw. They're hoping to get him back sometime in the earlier point of that time frame. But with this Lakers team on the ropes already, they got a great win against a good Utah team last night, but they're already kind of a mess. And the chemistry has never really been in this season. People have been in and out of the rotation too much. And now having AD out for even more time when he was already out for a good portion of the season beforehand, it's concerning for the Lakers, especially since they're really in win now mode. I mentioned it last night. If AD can't stay healthy, you might even consider. I know this sounds crazy to some people, but you might even consider trading him for someone who is going to stay healthy, even if it's a little bit worse as far as talent. Because you need people out there consistently if you want to win a chip with LeBron before he calls it quits in a couple of years, I'm assuming. So really unfortunate too. AD's career has been kind of plagued by injuries. I know in high school he was a point guard, and that's where he got all his ball handling skills from, because he can handle the ball really well for a big man. And then he just had a massive growth spurt, and they put him right to center in high school, and he had to readjust everything. So it's kind of a situation where another one of those freak athletes is a big man that can't seem to keep himself healthy. Really unfortunate, because I feel like his career path could be taken to the next level if he's not missing so many games all the time. But And then the one season where he didn't really have many injuries was when they won the championship. So that kind of shows how important of impact he's had on that team when he is able to play. But what are your thoughts on AD, his situation, and just kind of looking ahead for the Lakers, trying to comprehend just how often this guy gets hurt and if it's worth it or not, really?
Yeah, no, it's definitely unfortunate. I mean, Charles Barkley hilariously said, I think it was last year, a year or two ago, said he called AD street clothes. He's like this. He goes, every time you look, this guy's sitting on the bench wearing street clothes because he can't play. I mean, I don't know why the hell he's wearing those low top shoes anymore if he's just going to keep rolling his ankle. I mean, if you at least wear an ankle brace or something to prevent that. But I mean, this guy's just going out here low tops and socks down there banging in the paint. And I mean, something's not right with his body. I mean, he's just super, super brittle. I mean, I've honestly never really seen anything like it. I mean, it feels like every single year it's just a bump or a bruise or a sprained ankle here or something with a shoulder or a hand, and he just misses time. And it's just so frustrating because, I mean, he is a really, really, really good player. And, I mean, I heard Colin Cowherd talking today on the Herd. He said that if you look back at the 2020 season when they won the championship, he's like, I think the thing that benefited the Lakers most was the 4 to 5 month break in the middle of the season. He's like, that gave an older LeBron, a brittle Anthony Davis time off that they never would have gotten before, and it resulted in a championship. And then you look at that since then. I mean, last year they were out in the first round. AD had the groin, couldn't play. This year, I don't know what exactly the injury was earlier on in the season, middle of the season. Now he's got the ankle. I mean, I didn't see the injury, but I mean, from everything anyone's described, I'm a little queasy about all that stuff. So, I mean, if it's as bad as people are saying, it's probably going to be more along that 4-week timeline. And I mean, if you're the Lakers, I think they're the 9 seed. You can't afford to have an injury like that. I mean, this guy's supposed to be your second best player. And I mean, you're already kind of on the ropes scrambling to hold on to a playoff spot or a play-in berth, and to lose your second best guy for an extended period of time like that. I mean, it just doesn't come at a worse time for the Lakers. I mean, it sucks to see. You hate seeing star players like that get hurt. But I mean, this is becoming a theme for Anthony Davis. And I mean, it's something that the Lakers have to take a look at because, I mean, LeBron James obviously wants to win another championship, but can you do it with Anthony Davis? Because I don't think he can play a full 82-game season. I just don't think his body is capable of holding up for some reason. It doesn't make sense. I don't know if he needs to hire LeBron's body guy, nutritionist, whatever the hell LeBron and Tom Brady are doing. Get on that TB12 method, Anthony Davis, something. But I mean, I think you realistically, I mean, it's shocking to say. I mean, 2 years ago they were on top of the world, and Anthony Davis played a great finals. I think easily challenged LeBron for Finals MVP when they beat Miami. Played his butt off in that series, really the entire playoff run for LA. And now, I mean, 2 years removed from that, coming off a first-round playoff exit, and now on the cusp of potentially getting bounced in the play-in tournament if things don't turn around. I think the Lakers legitimately do have to think about their future and what they can get. I mean, if you can get a decent haul for Anthony Davis, I think you have to strongly consider moving off of him and try and get different pieces in there, free up some cap space, get some draft picks back. I know LeBron doesn't like playing with young players, but it's like, LeBron, you're not a GM. You've never been a GM. It hasn't worked out. Every move you've made has been questionable. I mean, you were the one who wanted Russell Westbrook, and look how that's turned out for you. You were the one who wanted Kevin Love. Yeah, you won a championship, but Kevin Love was thrown under the bus in Cleveland. You wanted Anthony Davis. You got rid of all these young players, set the Lakers back. I mean, again, you won a championship, but at what cost at a certain point? I mean, when you look at some of the guys the Lakers have given away for some of these moves, I mean, they gave away Montrezl Harrell and Kyle Kuzma last year to get an old and just not a good Russell Westbrook anymore. I mean, they gave up a haul to get Anthony Davis. I mean, LeBron, you're not a GM. Take the GM hat off. And I think it's time for the Lakers to sit back this offseason, take a long look at Anthony Davis, and see what they could. I mean, I'm not saying trade him, but definitely take calls, see what kind of what teams are offering, see what you can get. And I mean, if you can get a couple picks and a couple players for Anthony Davis, which I think is fairly possible, because I mean, when he's at his best, he's easily a top 15, top 10 player in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, those guys don't go on the trade market all that often, if ever. So, I mean, I think you'd have to really consider pulling the trigger depending upon how the rest of the season plays out. And I mean, it's unfortunate because, I mean, obviously LeBron's in the win now mode. And if Anthony Davis is going to continue to just be unavailable for long stretches of time, I mean, he's just not on the floor. And I mean, the old saying, the best ability is availability, and he's just not available. Season in, season out, it's something. It's always something with him getting hurt, and it's just unfortunate. I don't know what it is about his body that doesn't allow him to play 82 games. But I mean, yeah, if you're the Lakers, you're in a tough spot. It's a tough spot for sure.
Yeah, I was thinking back, and the trade they made for Anthony Davis, it'd be pretty nice for that team to have those guys right now. Have Brandon Ingram, Lonzo, even Josh Hart on that team right now. Provide a lot more defense. A lot of those guys have improved as 3-point shooters. So, looking back, obviously it's 2020, but that would be interesting to see that team still have some of those guys on it, especially with Anthony Davis not even playing for a good portion of the season. If you threw those guys in there, it could be a whole different story. But it's definitely an interesting situation, and I agree. I think if you can get a top 15 player back, top 20 even player back in that trade, as long with some draft picks and stuff like that, you definitely consider it, and you think about the pros and cons of this, because when AD's on the floor, you can win a championship, but too often he's not. So something to keep an eye on for sure, and how quickly he's able to come back. So
yeah, he's in his year 28 season, and up to this point, 7 years in the league, and nine years in the league. 9 years in the league, has not played 80 games in a season one time, has hit the 70 mark just twice. And I mean, has been in the 60s, the 50s, the 30s a couple times. I mean, it's just not durable, man. I mean, you can't rely on him to be consistently in your lineup. And I mean, that's what LeBron needs right now. He needs a guy who, I mean, when LeBron wants to take a night off because he's literally 45 years old, and he's just not there. And I mean, it's unfortunate. And I think the Lakers, like I said, tough spot. I mean, I think what happens in the playoffs, if they even make the playoffs, if they get bounced early, which I mean, a couple people have said, I think the Lakers can turn it on in the playoffs and steal a playoff series. I don't think so. I mean, I think if they're an 8 seed and they have to, even if they're a 7 or 8 seed and they have to play Golden State or Phoenix, I think they get swept. Really and truly, I don't think LeBron's ever been swept in a playoff series before. Maybe they don't get swept. I think LeBron probably wills them to one game. But if they have to match up against Phoenix or Golden State in the first round, there's no way in hell they're taking it past 6 games. No way. I mean, if they get 5 out of those series, they'll consider themselves lucky. But right now, no, I do not foresee them making it out of the first round of the playoffs.
yeah, it's hard when you look at how good the top of the West is, and who they have to go against. You're kind of just praying that you go on this massive run in the second half of the season to try and get in the 5 or 6 spot, but that's asking a lot for this team with missing Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook inefficient. LeBron's still playing amazing, but that's really one of the few bright spots outside of Austin Reeves having a good rookie year. But I mean, just at that point, you're kind of pulling at straws for bright spots outside of LeBron. So a lot for them to think about and really consider if this is what they want to try again next year and they want to keep this going, because there's definitely some questions going around, and this team is far from a title contender right now. So I'm sure we'll talk about that more as it continues, and we'll see how long he's actually out for. So another thing we wanted to talk about, I thought it'd be fun. We came together before the show, put together our combined top 10 quarterback list. So this is both of our opinions together. We we're going to do them separate, and we realized that we agreed on way too much, which we know people have been harping on us about a little bit. But so we decided just to do it together, just kill two birds with one stone. So these are our top 10 quarterbacks as of this very moment. So before all the offseason stuff happens, if they were to start another season right now, this is where our top 10 would look like. So number 10, we have Dak Prescott of the Dallas Cowboys. Dak, we were debating between him and a couple guys. He's been a good quarterback for that Cowboys team, but I think a lot of it has been because he just had a great offense around him. I think he has the ability to take that next step, but we're kind of waiting to see it. I feel like he's kind of plateaued at his rookie year when he had such a great year that year, and he kind of plateaued at that point. But I still think he's a good quarterback who can get you playoff wins or even get you the NFC East, which is not hard. But I still think that he's a good quarterback, but I'm still waiting to see that next step from Dak. So I think that's why we both agree that Dak is at number 10 on this list.
We went back and forth mostly with Tim and Derek Carr, but yeah, we decided on Dak. I don't really think again, like I think a couple guys in this list, those two could really be interchanged, but we gave the nod to Dak. I mean, I think you do have to give credit to Derek Carr this year, overcoming all the craziness that happened with the Raiders organization between the John Gruden stuff, what happened with Henry Ruggs, just both unfortunate incidents, obviously, and then just so much. It feels like year in and year out, the Raiders are just surrounded in turmoil. But yeah, I mean, we went with Dak. I think it's a good pick. I think he's certainly deserving of a top 10 quarterback.
Hello? Did we lose your Brock? Okay, so Brock? I think in the first time of the SGP podcast, we have had technical difficulties. So it looks like Brock has frozen on my screen. Apologies to the listeners or the viewers for this. Brock, can you hear me? Type in chat. We have not been able to do it in person. Oh, and he just dipped. We had not been able to do it in person, so we ended up have been doing it over Zoom recently. So I'll wait to see if I hear a word from him, but I might have to make a part 2 maybe. I don't know. This is interesting. But yeah, we had Dak at number 10 on our list, and yeah. I know he was talking about comparing Derek Carr to Dak Prescott, and Derek Carr has had a good year fighting through all that stuff with the Raiders organization. He's made Darren Waller into this fantastic tight end. Hunter Renfro's way taking a next step forward for that team too, but we felt like Dak has proven more, and that's why we went with Dak Prescott. Hello, Brock? I think he's coming back. Are we back, Brock?
What the heck just happened?
I have no idea. I kept the recording going, so I stalled for time for you. But I was talking about Dak Prescott. I have no idea what happened. I mean, I guess the Wi-Fi just cut out, but yeah, number 10 was Dak Prescott. So we'll just keep it moving. Number 9, Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. We picked Kyler because we feel like he has a stronger skill set and kind of has that more potential with this Cardinals team. But the playoff success and the big game moments have been lacking for Kyler. I think it's why he's number 9. I really was impressed with him in the first half of the season. Second half, he really fell apart. So if he can get that consistency going and step up in the big games, he can easily move up this list. But I think we were both pretty solid with Kyler at number 9 on the QB list as of right now.
Yeah, the ultimate dual threat guy, super quick. Yeah, you mentioned the second half. I mean, the Cardinals were at one point, like 10-0 this year. They lost to Green Bay, and then it really felt like it was all downhill from there. And then, I mean, the performance he put up in the playoff game against the Rams was pretty atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just, consistency for Kyler Murray. But I think when you look at overall ceiling, I definitely think he has a higher ceiling than Dak Prescott, and I think that's why he's I think that's why we kind of came to the conclusion that he was just a spot better than Dak.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Number 8 on our list was Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, and Lamar was injured a lot this season, so it's really hard to tell where he's at. But when he did play, obviously the ground game is fantastic, but I'm still not 100% sold on his consistency in the pass game. He seems to target Mark Andrews a little bit too much. Everyone gives him the excuse of having iffy receivers, and he has had a lot of receiver changes throughout the years. But I think that at some point it comes down to his decision making too. And that team did not make the playoffs despite him, even though he was injured. So the former MVP, I'm still okay with. I'm okay with having it number 8 just because he's the best runner of any quarterback maybe we've ever seen up there with Mike Vick, but the passing game still has a little bit to be desired, and I do feel like I need to see him take another step in the playoffs and in big games to kind of solidify that it wasn't like a one-year wonder kind of thing. So Lamar Jackson, number 8.
Yeah, definitely the postseason success leaves a lot to be desired. Just 1-3 in the playoffs. I'm looking at the stats right now because I was just curious. 55% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So, yeah, definitely needs to show up in those big games. Baltimore was just destroyed by injuries this year, so kind of a punt year, honestly. I mean, for them, not much they could really have done or hoped for, and you lose all 3 of your running backs within like a week's time. It's just crazy.
Ridiculous.
But I thought they were still fighting right there and up until the end, and Lamar's a big part of that. But yeah, you mentioned I think Baltimore does still need some receiver help. Still kind of waiting for Lamar Jackson. He's improved as a passer, but certainly looking for him to take that next step forward and be a lot more consistent and a little bit more accurate as a passer. But yeah, again, I think number 8, again, he's won an MVP, won a playoff game, has proved that he can be a big-time player in the NFL. So I think that's, again, why we put him ahead of Kyler Murray. They similar skill sets, but Lamar Jackson just a better player right now.
Yeah, I agree. Number 7, we had Russell Wilson. In fact, a lot of people kind of forgot about this season because the Seahawks were not good. The Seahawks really need to figure out the situation quick because if they don't, I mean, Wilson is not young anymore, and he's going to go looking for a team that he can go win on. And his opportunities have been opening up. You go to like Tampa to fill Tom Brady's spot. Denver's got a decent core that they just need a good quarterback in. The Saints. So there's options for quarterbacks to dip out of the current situations. And Russell Wilson is one of those guys that have been talked about a lot. He did have his first ever injury this year that made him miss a game. So it's kind of crazy, taking from a durability standpoint, how well he's played being a dual threat quarterback for so long. I think he's the reason that they even got their wins in the first place. So Russell Wilson, number 7, they felt confident in this. He's proven. We do need to see him get back into that winning form. I know that he's got Dak Prescott. Not Dak Prescott. DK Metcalf. Too many D's. DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. But I feel like Russell Wilson is going to linger on this list for a long time, even if the Seahawks aren't at their best. But I feel confident with us putting Russell Wilson at 7.
Yeah, same. Certainly, I think he's certainly a trade candidate this season in the off season this year. Him and Rodgers are names to watch out for. But yeah, I mean, Super Bowl champ, multiple time Pro Bowler. I think one of the best quarterbacks of our generation. Mm-hmm. I think people are gonna be like, oh, he might be a little bit low on this list, but I think just coming off the season he had last year when he was banged up and didn't really, which I mean, obviously when he came back, he's not going to put up jaw-dropping numbers. I mean, the guy still was coming off a broken finger. which that was a gnarly injury too. I watched that game and
Yeah, that's gross.
I think it was on like Monday Night Football on ESPN, classic ESPN, just kept zooming in on it. It's like, damn guys, stop it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, a little bit of a rocky season for Russell Wilson to no fault of his own, but yeah, seven on our list.
Number 6, I don't know if this is surprising to people or not. I feel like everyone has different opinions about him. But number 6, we have Justin Herbert of the LA Chargers. I feel like his potential and his ceiling is an MVP quarterback in this league. I think that he's just some of these games he's got really bad luck in, and when I've watched him, only thing he really needs to clean up a little bit is some of the decision making, which will just come over time. I feel like I said a tad too many interceptions or errant throws, but when he's on, he is on, and he is one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he is on. So I think he'll be one of those guys where over time he'll be learning the defenses more, be learning the playbook more, and just kind of get that instinct under his belt. But I do want to see the Chargers build a little bit more of a defense to help him out. They've gotten some good guys on offense, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Eckler. So I feel like this team definitely has that core there to build off of. But I like Herbert at 6. I think in a year or two we could be talking about him in the top 5, even close to the top 3, if he reaches his full potential. So I'm happy with Herbert at 6, and I think if people have watched enough Herbert, then they can tend to agree with us on this one.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that he was in the same draft class as Tua, and Tua went before him. But yeah, I mean, I like Herbert. I think I was kind of torn between the guy we have in front of him. I thought they could easily go back and forth. But you'll see why the next guy we have is at 5. Yeah, I mean, I think the Chargers, there was no excuse. The Chargers shouldn't have made the playoffs this year. I think there was some questionable coaching in that final game against the Raiders that kept them out of the playoffs. But I mean, they lost a couple bad games in the regular season that just kind of ultimately screwed them over and was the reason they didn't get into the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, Herbert's another one of those young generational talent QBs. If the Chargers can just get some defensive help on the other side of the ball, the offense is there. And yeah, they just need help on the defensive side of the ball to help shore up that roster. And I think the Chargers are going to be a team that a lot of people will be picking to make the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I know I definitely will, as long as they do what they need to do in the offseason. But just to recap, number 10, we have Dak, 9, Kyler, 8, Lamar, 7, Russ, and 6, Herbert. So now to the top 5. I know this has changed a lot from what it was. Obviously, no more Brady, and some big guys having some great postseasons. So number 5, I know he wouldn't be here without this amazing season, is Joe Burrow. I think, again, one of those generational quarterbacks, Joe Shiesty, Joe Burr. He he had a fantastic postseason, playing with a bad offensive line, got his team a chance to go win the Super Bowl. So he's been really fun to watch. Him and Jamar Chase have that amazing chemistry. He's got some good weapons around him to keep building around. So, and we talked about the Bengals a lot recently. Obviously with Super Bowl and everything, but I'm happy with Burrow at 5. And I can see him moving up if things go the right way and he keeps continuing to win like they did this postseason. So I feel like Burrow at 5 is a good spot, and I feel like he can move up if things go right. So
yeah, I agree. I think the massive postseason definitely helped his case here. Like we said, I think that him and Herbert, a lot of people would say, or maybe not a lot of people, that might just be me, but would say that those two could have been interchangeable. But yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow led the league in completion percentage this year. Really has only played like a year in total in the NFL, year and a couple games, it's really impressive what he's been able to do in such a short time. I mean, was a yard away from potentially a drive away from winning the Super Bowl as a second-year player. But yeah, I mean, Bengals fix the offensive line, and I mean, your defense your defense was pretty good, stepped up in some big moments in the playoffs. Obviously, your offensive skill positions are loaded. Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, C.J. Uzama. But yeah, fix the offensive line, and Cincinnati is going to be a threat in the AFC for a long time coming.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Number 4, we have the Super Bowl champion, Matthew Stafford. Stafford has proven a lot of those doubters wrong who hated on him in Detroit or said that them losing was because of him. And he goes out to LA in his first year, wins a ring. Had a great year. Was second in the league in touchdowns, I believe, behind Brady. So Stafford clutched it up in the playoffs as well. They had that deep pass to Cooper Kupp against the Bucs that won it. The game-winning drive in the Super Bowl. So Stafford has proven himself, I feel like, and if the Rams can bring back majority of the same roster, and we've had talks of Aaron Donald leaving or Von Miller, Odell with injury questions. So if they could bring guys back, and they'll get Robert Woods back next season, who missed a lot of the season due to injury. So I feel like Stafford is in a good spot here, competing with the best. I feel like he belongs here, despite some people's beliefs, and I'm hoping that he's here to stay. So I feel confident in having Stafford at number 4.
Yep, I do too. I think he silenced a lot of his doubters this year. Still, I think the decision making a little bit of a question mark. 17 picks this year. I think it was tied for the league lead with Trevor Lawrence. So, certainly had his ups and downs this season. But I mean, yeah, he played just a crazy postseason. Made some of the biggest throws of his career, and I mean to do what he did in the postseason, get his first championship, and really, I mean, his first playoff experience in a really long time. Handled it with professionalism and just went out there, killed it in every single game. And I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, I have no problem with Stafford. I think people have started to now realize that this guy is a really, really, really talented quarterback. And it just took him going to a good team and not a dysfunctional organization. Sorry, Eric, for people to realize it.
You're right. The Lions are very dysfunctional, and everyone would say, "Oh, he hasn't won the playoffs before this season. He was 0-3. They were having a lot of problems getting wins." But I've always said this since we got Stafford, and I hang on to this day, that Stafford was very far from the problem in Detroit. He was one of the reasons that they were even getting as many wins as they did. A couple years ago, and they went to the playoffs, he had like 8 game-winning drives in that season. So he was the guy that led Detroit to the playoffs in the first place. So I give him a ton of credit for that, even though a lot of people don't. So top 3. Number 3, we agreed on Aaron Rodgers to be the 3rd spot. Obviously, question marks about where he'll be once again, just like last offseason. Obviously, he won MVP again, back-to-back MVPs. The postseason struggles still continue to worry us about his ranking on this list, but Aaron Rodgers, no doubt, Hall of Famer, back-to-back MVP. I feel confident putting him in this spot. It'd be interesting to see over the next year or two if he's able to keep up this level of play, or if he's going to start declining as he gets older. So a lot of question marks around Rodgers, but I feel like 3 is a good spot for him to stick in as for now.
Yeah, I know probably a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, the guy just won MVP. How do you put him at 3? How is he not the best?" I mean, it's tough. I think, I don't know. I mean, I just can't. You just can't get over the postseason. I mean, I think that's kind of where we're basing our criteria on, is right now after the season, after the postseason. And I mean, he did not play particularly well against San Francisco. And I mean, yeah, you just can't ignore the lack of postseason success since Green Bay has won their lone title in the Aaron Rodgers era. I mean, 1-4 in the NFC Championship, 0-4 against San Francisco. And I mean, yeah, again, early exit this year in the postseason and it's even. I mean, when you think about it, they're home. A lot of these games, they're home. They're in Lambeau Field. They're home favorites, and to get beat like that, I mean, you can't look past that. And I think some of his off the field drama. And I mean, leading into this offseason, was he going to play? Would he retire? I mean, yeah, I think three's a deserving spot. I think the two guys we have ahead of him, certainly in terms, I mean, obviously ceiling because they're younger, but I think the way they played, the way they played, and they're just they're the future of the NFL. I think they're deserving to be ahead of Rodgers.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and it's weird not having Brady on one of these lists for the first time in ever. So number 2, we have Josh Allen with the Buffalo Bills, which means number 1, we have Mahomes, and I feel like these two guys are, if you watch their playoff game, they are the two best young quarterbacks and arguably the best two quarterbacks, like we put on this list, in the league. If there's guys that you want to build around, and you got to pick anybody, I feel like these two are the top 2 on your list. Both fill all the boxes, have rocket arms, great accuracy, can run, good IQ. I mean, Josh Allen, I believe, had 11 touchdowns and no picks in his 2 playoff games, and they lost on that OT dagger by Mahomes. Mahomes can pull rabbit out of his head at any moment in time, can pull teams back from a deficit like it's nothing. I feel like these two quarterbacks are the example of a quarterback for the future of the next 10, 15 years. These names are not going to be going anywhere, and Mahomes, I feel like, is more proven, winning the ring, winning the MVP. That's kind of the reason why we have Mahomes that won the playoff game too, against Allen. So I think a lot of people would agree with having Mahomes number 1 as far as quarterbacks go. But I feel like Josh Allen is in that same category of next level elite. These are the guys that are going to be sticking around forever, that if you're not a fan of the Chiefs or the Bills and they're playing your team, you're going to get annoyed by them a lot. So Mahomes at 1, Allen at 2, Rodgers at 3, Stafford at 4, Burrow at 5. How do you feel about number 2 as Allen and number 1 as Mahomes?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, like we said, we were basing this off of what happened in the postseason this year. Obviously, Mahomes bested Allen in the playoffs, even though I think you could probably argue that Josh Allen played a better game. But I mean, I think a lot of the blame goes to the Bills defense. They should have been in the AFC Championship game, but that's neither here or there. We're talking about quarterbacks, but yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, you could have made an argument that Josh Allen arguably could have won MVP in 2020 when Rodgers won it for the third time. I mean, Allen had an incredible year. I think he 37 touchdowns through the air, 8 more on the ground, almost 5,000 all-purpose yards. So I mean, which is, it put up a tremendous season, one of the best by a quarterback in recent memory. And I mean, yeah, I think then you go back to Mahomes. I mean, the guy's otherworldly. It's kind of weird not seeing him play in the Super Bowl after 2 years of appearances. I mean, but the results speak for themselves. I mean, he's been in the AFC Championship for 4 straight years. 1-1 in the Super Bowl. And yeah, I mean, those are going to be the two. I think that's the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady era, rivalry that we're going to be witnessing here for the next, hopefully 10, 15 years. I mean, if those two guys, as long as can keep building around them and are able to keep the money in check and spread it around and keep surrounding them with talent, I think those are the two cream of the crop quarterbacks at the top that are going to be competing for AFC championships and Super Bowls for the next hopefully 10 to 15 years. I mean, those guys are the next generation of talent, and I mean, it's going to be so much fun. I mean, the amount of young quarterback talent that the NFL has right now, it's in such a good spot. I mean, It really is. I mean, not so much. I mean, in the NFC a little bit, but the AFC is going to be loaded. I mean, it's crazy. Like, to think that any of these guys, I mean, it's going to be hard for really any of these guys to win multiple Super Bowls when you think about, like, the Herberts. I mean, there's 4 or 5 young AFC quarterbacks on this list. Right now. I mean, that's just the top 10. And I mean, it's exciting. The NFL is in such a great place competitively, And I mean, I think those Herbert, Burrow, Allen, and Mahomes are going to be going back and forth for the next decade.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree, and I really like that comparison made with Mahomes and Allen as the Brady and Manning potentially likely as of the future in the AFC, and yeah, I think we're in a fantastic spot. Again, the list is 10 Dak, 9 Kyler, 8 Lamar, 7 Wilson, 6 Herbert, 5 Burrow, 4 Stafford, 3 Rodgers, 2 Allen, 1 Mahomes. Um, I think we both feel good about this, and yeah, I'm sure that some stuff about this will change over time. But right now, I feel like this is where we're at. And if again looking at the amount of young guys on this list who can really take a next step if things go right for them, means that this could be shaken up a lot. So, yeah, this was a fun little list to make. Let us know your opinions about this list if you agree, disagree, and where you think we should put some of these guys. So yeah, I think that about wraps up this episode of the Shoulda Gone Pro podcast. Thank you for listening as always. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Gone Pro Pod. We'll be posting on there about new episodes and things of that nature. So come interact with us, talk to us outside the podcast, and we'll be sure to reply. But yeah, thank you as always. We'll be back next week with some more episodes, and everyone have a great weekend.